everybody. Welcome back to Wicked Unscripted. It's been a minute, but we are here to cover some of the most unscripted conversations from the most popular reality shows on television. Obviously, I'm Abigail Adams, and with me is Sarah, Sammy, and Allie. We are here to run the draft for Traitors Season 3, and this cast is my favorite that they have had of the 3 seasons. I think there's obviously discussion to be had about whether or not we should go back to a half reality, half civilian cast. We can keep that for another episode. Right now, we really definitely just want to go through the 21 names that we have. So before we get started, let's just run through really quickly how this is going to go. I apologize if I'm talking too much to start, guys. So we're going to run in 5 rounds. Obviously, there are 4 of us. So by the end of round 5, we'll have 20 people picked. There are 21. How we're going to operate is whoever loses somebody first on the first episode of the Traitors will automatically get the 21st person. Now, if there are 2 people on the episode, it's going to be the first person eliminated that will automatically go to the other person. And the other person will just be shit out of luck. We got limited time to run this right now, so we are going to automatically run into round 1. If anybody has any thoughts, though, just let me know before I get started.
My thoughts are just that I think we should say that some of us watch Survivor heavily. All of us watch Big Brother heavily. We all watch different shows. I know Sammy is a lot more into the Real Housewives right now. I have been a past Real Housewife person, but this is going to be interesting because all of us know these people in a different light. So
I think that's great. And with that, Allie, you're actually the first person to pick. You warned me you might take somebody on my list, so I'm dying to know who your number 1 pick is. Go for it.
My first pick is Jeremy Collins.
Oh, you didn't take. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, okay. So the reason I picked Jeremy is because obviously Jeremy is from Survivor, and Jeremy was really good. Jeremy is a winner of all winners, okay? Because Jeremy he was really good in Survivor at utilizing his idols and finding idols. And I think that would be a really good trait as far as winning competitions for the Traitors, because we have seen in season 1 and season 2 that there is a lot of value in someone that can help be a comp beast. As you know, there's a fine line, right? But there is a good, it's good to be someone that can help gain the pot of money. And also because he is such a Survivor goat, if you will, I think that he would be a person that if he's not a traitor, because I'm unsure if he would be picked for traitor, but if he's not, I think he would be someone that they would be able to pin. The Traitors would be able to pin him as a traitor and to keep the conversation going. So that is why I picked him, because I'm unsure. I thought about whether or not I was going to pick a straight traitor first, but I thought, let me pick someone that I think is going to survive a few weeks first.
So have any of you guys watched Survivor 40 Winners at War?
No.
Yeah, so he's the winner of all winners because he won
so
season.
Y'all should definitely at least check that out before the season, in my opinion, or at least kind of brush up, because we have 3 survivors on this season. We have multiple. We have more than 3, but 3 important ones that I'm bringing up right now. Jeremy, Tony, and Rob had a triangle on season 40 of animosity toward each other. And that's why this casting is so interesting to me. So I'm a personal fan of Jeremy. I live near Jeremy. So I think that's a fantastic
And side note, before I move on to the next one, before you guys move on to the next one, he was also able to really use the meat shield around him. And although he was a comp beast, he was able to put that on Survivors at War, at least. His first season, he went out, I think, Abigail, correct me if I'm wrong, he went out right after the merge, maybe?
Yes.
But he was really able to put that meat shield, as you call it, around him and make other people, i.e. Rob, i.e. Tony, a bigger target than him. So I think that will be a good trade on the Traitors.
And they're all 3 winners. Anything from Sammy and Sarah on this pick?
No. I've watched him on a few podcasts, and I think his social game's gonna be. I just feel like his history is gonna make him intimidating and may make him an early target.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I don't think alpha males typically do very well in the Traitors because so much of the Traitors relies heavily on making these like kind of like friendship alliances almost of like we just mutually trust each other. So players like this tend to try to take control too early and start to freak people out and are all like ultimately get kind of pinned as traitors just for that attitude.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
The reason I put Tony over the other Survivor alpha males is just because I felt like Boss and Rob was going to be the initial target. But
yeah, I can see that.
All right.
Who's awesome. Next? I am actually next. So we're actually going to be staying with Survivor. But I don't know if you guys are going to agree with my pick, and I'm curious to see what you guys are going to say. I am going to go with Carolyn.
Oh, I don't agree at all.
I know you don't, but I got plenty of reasons, and I do think Carolyn is either going to be. I did this with like Andy when it came to the Survivor draft. It's either going to be a huge hit or a huge miss, and I totally recognize that. But I am going with Carolyn partially because of the edit we're getting off of the Soul trailer that we have. So I compared it to other trailers from past Traitor seasons, and Traitors will very often, and first of all, there's two people that will be fairly recognized or like will have multiple appearances in a trailer. One of them is if you're a traitor, and one of them is if you're going to win. Actually, last season, neither of the winners appeared. So it's part of why I'm a little hesitant on this pick because she was so heavily featured in this promo. However, first of all, I just love her. Love her to death. But second of all, I think some of the comments she's made, she's not going to bow down to anybody. She's not going to play anybody's game. She's willing to stab backs, and she's literally laughing at other people's misery. I'm just here for it. I don't necessarily think that she's like odds on a winner, but I think part of what we've seen also in the past 2 seasons is winners come from shows that rely on strategy. The first season, it was Sari with Survivor before she ever went on Big Brother. And the second season was CT and Trishelle, who were both very well versed in the challenge universe. I think if I'm talking about pros and cons when it comes to that, the con for Carolyn is she's only played Survivor very recently and only once. So I don't know how that will pan out. But I love her. I feel like it would be wrong of me to not support her because I see so much of myself in her. So that's where my pick lands. Anybody want to share thoughts? So I'm sure you don't agree.
I can share just because I know who she is. The reason that I actually have a TikTok plan to film very shortly with all of my thoughts. And one of the things that I have written down to say is that I feel Caroline is going to be so chaotic that she will be one of those. I don't think she'll be a traitor, and I think she'll be a faithful that leads everyone in the wrong direction.
You don't? I think she's going to be a traitor. I actually truly think she's got the potential based on that.
I don't see a chance in hell that she will be a traitor.
I don't think Carolyn's going to be a traitor. I feel like she might be so chaotic that she might get the Kate treatment where she sticks around a lot longer than typically because she is so chaotic. I don't see her making it to the end, but I also don't see her going out early. I feel like she's going to get the Kate spot.
Agree.
Or Janelle.
There's one more thought that I had too, is that one of the things that I think is a big flaw of hers is that she's coming in and she literally openly said, like, I don't care who's here with me, like to something to that degree. She was just like, I don't give a who's here. Like, I'm just going to do this. And I do fear for her for that. But
that's very her to say too.
But I almost wonder if people are going to look at her and be like, well, she's just a wild card. There's no way that a traitor would be this. And also they're not going to banish somebody who's a wild card who's going to just constantly throw random shit out as long as they're not the target because they don't want, or as long as they're making themselves a target regularly. But it's going to come down to votes. I think Carolyn's going to get a lot of votes.
I agree with you though. I think she's going to be a traitor.
Really? So we're half and half.
Do.
So Sarah,
you know Carolyn, Sammy?
Only from like TikTok, but when I was researching a lot of this and then looking at the promos and stuff like that, she does give me Janelle vibes, and I was kind of surprised that Janelle wasn't a traitor. But just the way it was edited in the promos, it felt very much like she doesn't care who she's around because she's a traitor. Like That's the kind of
another
vibe
person.
I got.
Similar vibe for somebody else when we get there, and I'll tell you who it is. But what were you saying, Allie?
Same, actually.
I was just saying valid about the Carolyn take and the Janelle take. I will say that I wasn't surprised that Janelle was not a traitor just because Dan was.
Yeah.
We'll get into that when we talk about Big Brother people.
For sure,
All right,
for sure.
Moving on to Sarah for the third pick of the round. Who are we going with? Who's your first pick and why?
This person could not be my first pick. This person could do no wrong in my eyes, and I'm absolutely obsessed. And I feel like they will slay. Bob the Drag Queen is my first pick.
Sarah, that was my number 2.
Okay, this is the person, by the way, that I was just saying with Sammy that I think is almost a guaranteed traitor. Like I think shocked if Bob wasn't a traitor.
I think Bob is a recruited traitor.
Yes,
Could
I agree.
Totally. I don't know how they're going to play that, but I like that.
There is a promo where they're looking at getting a piece of paper. I don't think you're being murdered. I think it's going to be a recruitment letter.
Well,
okay.
His entire promo was just
saying. I thought
screaming.
you meant production recruited Bob. Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I feel like Bob is going. I don't know if they're going to do it like they did season 2, where 2 traitors will recruit a third, or if it'll be a later on down the line. But I do feel like Bob the Drag Queen will end up being a traitor, but not on the first night, or not from the tap on the shoulder. Okay, Bob is going to crush this. And yeah, Bob is iconic in every way, shape, or form. I cannot wait for the confessionals. I cannot wait for the competitions. I cannot wait for the commentary. I cannot wait for the round table. This was immediately the standout when the first cast was first announced, and there's just no way. Like I would have been in tears and sobbed and just quit the draft altogether had I not got Bob. So I'm glad I did.
I love Bob, but I don't know if Bob's going to win because I feel Bob will get found out eventually, kind of like Phaedra. But that's where I'm looking at it from.
I agree with you, Abigail. The reason that I said earlier Bob was my number 2 draft pick, and I agree with you, Abigail. And the reason that Bob was my number 2 draft pick is because I do feel heavily. I disagree that they are going to be a. When you said recruit, I was thinking production, but I disagree that they would be recruit. I think they will be an initial 3, and the reason is because I think that production at this point would want to prevent a Peppermint 2.0. And I really feel in my bones that these people from RuPaul's, and I am very out of touch with RuPaul, and I will say that I only know Bob from podcasts and social media at this point in time, and I just know clips and things I've seen. But from just that alone, I feel very strongly that Bob will possibly be a traitor and possibly go farther than Peppermint ever did. And I really think that the Traitors production will want to prevent Peppermint would have went far had that not happened. So
something you should know about Bob and from Bob the Drag Queen on RuPaul's Drag Race podcast and everywhere and elsewhere, but I fell in love with Bob the Drag Queen on RuPaul's Drag Race. That was the season with Monet Exchange, who was one of my locals. And I will never forget that season, but something that really stands out to me is Bob says it how it is and is very blunt, but not in an abrasive way, and never says anything that anyone could really find any fault in. So Bob is going to be very persuasive at these roundtables. While he has big personality, it's very disarming and inviting. So Bob could be like this big personality in the dressing room, in the workroom in RuPaul's Drag Race. However, some of the deepest conversations, the most intimate moments were because Bob was able to disarm the person, and it wasn't really strategic on RuPaul's Drag Race. It just kind of those connections are part of the process and the experience. But Bob the Drag Queen has a way about him that just makes you feel safe and comfortable, and that the person you're talking to knows more about literally everything than you know.
Oh, wow.
Great. Well, we're going to move on to the next pick just because we are tight on time today. So next is Sammy. So Sammy, I would love to know, who is your first pick?
You know, my top two are like equal to me, and I thought one of them was going to get picked before this point, so I'm going to have to just like go with my gut here.
No.
But I can't not say Danielle Reyes.
I knew it.
That's
Just
what
it
I
has
think
to
Sarah
be.
might take. I like that. Now tell us why.
So I think the Traitors is unique in that like the winners of the Traitors are usually from strategic games. And when we're talking about Big Brother and we're talking about strategy and competition wise, that's Danielle Reyes. She can make everyone feel comfortable while she's stabbing them in the back. I think she would be equally as good as a traitor and a faithful, which is ultimately why I chose her over my other pick, because my other pick would have to be a faithful.
Interesting to know. I'm curious to know who that will be when it comes up.
Brittany.
Yeah. Probably. Who knows?
Real. He's talking about Brittany.
I mean, I was just leaving it open. June.
I'm not going to confirm or deny, but as for Danielle, I think she's going to have a great demeanor for the Traitors. The Traitors love players who are not too big on personality, like they're not too loud, they're not too, controlling, and I think she's going to give that aura of like calmness, follow me, but like don't worry about it kind of vibe. So I got to give it to her. She's my favorite Big Brother player of all time.
I love her.
My two concerns with Danielle, because fucking icon. Number one, there are too many Big Brother players in here for me to not be worried about them knowing Danielle's greatness and using that against her and telling the other members about Danielle's greatness if they're not already familiar. We've seen it happen before. The other concern I would have here would be Danielle is fantastic, but what we saw in reindeer games is Danielle's greatness has more to do with the social and long game than fast-paced games like Traitors or reindeer games, if you will. I know reindeer games wasn't really social and it was competition based, but if you saw those like social elements and stuff like that, I feel like Danielle is a slow cooker, and
that is true.
And I worry about the pace of Traitors for her.
So something I wrote down for Danielle, and the reason that she was, so my number 2 was Bob, and my number 3 was Danielle. And the reason that Danielle was on my list is because I really feel like Danielle is going to try her best to get her lick back. Because listen, if you watched reindeer games, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into it. We can talk about it on other podcasts. But Danielle is going to be out for blood to get her lick back. Now, the reason that she was my number 3 and not 1 or 2 is because I strongly feel that it is going to be a problem for Danielle and Brittany. And the reason I feel that is because I just really think that irregardless of if they reconciled before or during this filming, I do feel very strongly that we have seen this in the past on Big Brother players playing together on the Traitors. They know, like Sarah said, they know each other. They know what each other can do. I think it was a disservice to Dan that Janelle was not a traitor with him. I think they either should have both been faithfuls or both been traitors. Probably.
Well, he could have recruited her, and he didn't.
That's a good point.
That was his fault.
Yes, we can go into that another time. Yes, I agree. I fully agree. But my point being is the reason that she was my number 3 is that I feel like she's going to try her best to get her lick back. And unlike Sarah's feelings, I do think she's going to pivot and try and realize that, oh, shoot, I have now played a short-term game, and now I know how that works. And so I do think she's going to be more prepared than Dan was going into this.
Well, also, I will say one of the things about Danielle is that, one, I do think she and Brittany are going to work together, mostly because this is super uncharted territory for both of them. But number 2 is that the reason Danielle didn't do as well in reindeer games is because everyone in that house knew who she was. It was talked about frequently via X, like how much of a, like how she should be winning all of these things. In the Traitors, they are not going to know her that way. And I don't think Brittany is going to focus attention on like getting people to recognize Danielle's threat level.
Not right away.
Well, because then they're going to start looking at Big Brother players in general.
Right. Right.
Yes.
So I think if there were other Big Brother players in the house with them, this might have been a bigger issue. But it's just Danielle and Brittany. And I think there's going to be solidarity, but I think Danielle Reyes is going to backstab her.
I think Survivor is going to be the big ticket. I think because there's 4 Survivor people, naturally that's a big target.
Nah, they don't like each other, in my opinion. I think they won't work together because they don't like
the Bravo girlies who always band together, I really think that Survivor is going to be where they are headed first.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
So I got to cut us off. We got to run to round 2.
Yep.
And I apologize to our listeners. We are just listening, just in case you guys are listening to why we're kind of chopping this up. We got limited time, so we just have to get going. So I apologize to you guys if I jump in.
Perfect.
We are going into round 2. And so everybody is getting their second pick. We're not going in reverse order. We are going in the exact same order we already went. So we are going back to Allie. And Allie, who is your round 2 pick?
Okay, as I said, my 2 and 3 pick have already been taken. And so it caused me to think about whether or not I wanted to choose my number 4. And I've decided I'm going to jump down and not go with my number 4. I'm going to go with my number 6 pick, actually, which is Bob Harper.
Interesting. Explain.
Okay, let me explain. Bob, I don't know if you guys have watched The Biggest Loser.
I have, so I got you.
Okay. So Bob Harper is between Jillian and Bob. Bob was definitely not the villain, right? Bob was the happy and motivational guy, whereas Jillian, in the edit at least, was edited to be more of the villain. And
I in real life, but
and I do feel like Bob is going to be the faithful that is constantly. He's obviously going to be a faithful. No doubt in my mind that he will be a traitor. I think he's going to be a faithful, and I think he's going to consistently lead the faithfuls in the wrong freaking direction. For that reason, I'm sorry, I said it.
I love it.
For that reason, I do believe that the traitors will not target Bob and that he will last a while. And because of how my Survivor draft pick went, I am focusing a little bit more on who I might think will be a faithful as well as a traitor on this pick, because I don't want to be left with only one person and be like this the whole time.
Oh, girl, you're making me rethink my pick for this because I'm right next, and I have 3 women in my next.
I mean, do you see my point right now?
Yes,
with the whole faithful
4.
Thing? Yes, traitors are important, but like, you know, when you talk about certain traitors that right off the bat we're like, I mean, production-wise, we can think they're probably going to be a traitor. We don't want to pick them right off the bat because we don't want a Cody situation, right? Where it's like, yes, he was a traitor, he was a good traitor, but he was an easy target. So
totally. Any other thoughts on Bob Harper? Do you guys know Bob Harper from Biggest Loser?
I know nothing about him, so
I do, and I think on the Traitors, he'll live up to his claim to fame, which is The Biggest Loser. I think he was literally last on my list. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think his personality is gonna go well with it. I think people are gonna dislike him right off the bat. I think he I don't see him having influence. I think if he makes it to the end, it's because nobody cares about him, like, as a threat.
Okay, wait. I know
about him or his opinions.
I'm gonna say
No, just his personality.
Well, because we watched him on The Biggest Loser, his personality is the reason why I do believe he will lead the faithfuls in the wrong direction. Because he really is the kind of guy. He is a motivational guy, and so
but that's not going to bode well with them.
Season? Who was the British guy last season?
The Parliament guy,
politician.
Oh, yes. John, my favorite.
Yes, okay. He will be, I believe, similar to that. And it's like, he's a great guy. We kind of believe him. We kind of want to go with him, but he's not leading us in the right direction. So
I don't think he is going to match up to the other people in the house that are going to want that influence. Like, this is going to be a castle of very strong personalities.
We're going to have a lot of castle daddies.
I don't think he's ever going to get to the point where he has that influence.
I hate to cut you guys off, but
let's go.
I do have to move on to this next pick. And the problem is, it's my pick, and I'm between 4 women that I genuinely don't know who to pick from right now. I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm sitting here looking at it being like, shit. So.
I hope you don't take mine.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to whittle it down to 2 housewives.
Oh,
and the one I'm going to pick is Dorinda.
No.
I'm so sorry. So I will tell you when the other person comes up who it is. I'm gonna go with Dorinda because especially she was like, I'm gonna be queen of this castle. There was very little that we got from her, and I think part of why I'm picking that is we got a single thing of her just being like, I'm gonna be queen, and we saw nothing else. I think it's a risky pick though. And I will be honest, I know it's a risky pick because she is gonna be a polarizing personality, in my opinion. But it's going to be about how she polarizes people. She could be somebody that the traitors are really afraid of, but she also could be somebody who is off the traitor scent, even if she's kind of close, as long as she's not fully on their scent, they're not going to care. As long as she's playing a hard game and playing a hard game against them, that's the thing that I'm kind of leaning on. The only problem is if she has the right senses and sniffs out the traitors. Yeah. So I think, but if you hear who my next pick is, or my next Real Housewives person that I was between, depending on who picks it, very similar circumstances. So I wanted to go with somebody who had a really strong personality, but also was really portrayed well in the edit, but not super over the top. Because like I mentioned last season, I just went and watched the season 2 trailer. CT and Trishelle were not mentioned once. They didn't have a single promo. They were not talked about at all. So I'm not trying to base all of my picks off of a good edit. I mean, I always base it off of the edit, but I try to kind of base it off of like, where do I think they sit in the edit? And I think Dorinda got a really good, interesting place where she had a single confessional where she was like, I'm going to be queen of this castle. And we didn't see anything else. And it's like, ooh, will you be? And I think that she also has the smarts to possibly be that person. But I want to hear what you guys think, because I know this is definitely kind of a left field.
I don't know anything about like I don't watch Real Housewives of New York.
I don't either. That's the thing. I don't know.
I know some. I've heard a couple of things about her. I know her name for sure. I can tell you that this bothers me so much.
Why?
You can't tell, like her traitor. I don't know what, because this is the most awkward. I've seen this in photos before.
Her, I was like, "What do you mean? What did I pick?"
No. I'm talking about her official Traitors pose.
I didn't get that.
But Sarah, if you knew her,
it's her.
It makes so much sense. And the reason that I had her on my list was because between her and some of the other house guests, I felt like she was the least risky choice. I think that's probably why Abigail went with her. Because the other ones, well, we'll talk about the other ones later. But I think Dorinda is a really solid housewives choice because we have seen in the past 2 seasons, Bravo females, for whatever reason, we've seen that on other shows too that they've played on, House of Villains, for example. Bravo people, for whatever reason, they form this pact and they follow their way through to the end.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. We are going to have to keep powering through, so we're going
to
move right on to Sarah. I have to leave the room for a second, so I'm going to let you share your thought.
Got
and I will be right back. But so I want to hear your thought before I leave. Who are you picking?
I am picking Brittany Hayes.
I knew you were going to do it. All right.
I cannot believe that you guys did it. Y'all just left her on the table.
I was about to. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
For the record, she was my number 4 pick that I skipped after you took Bob. And
that was a terrible decision on your part. And let me tell you. So Brittany is a super fan of Traitors, like huge super fan. I do not think what Allie said earlier about this being uncharted territory for her and Danielle is accurate for Brittany, because Brittany has seen enough of this show. She has seen all the UK versions, the Australian versions. She is a super fan. I think she has seen enough of this show to really recognize patterns of what works, what doesn't work. And I don't feel like enough of this cast is going to know that about her. I think they're going to see her as maybe a Big Brother player from way back, but I don't feel like anyone in this cast is really going to know the super fan of Traitors that Brittany is.
I agree.
I think that's why I was picking Danielle before Brittany, because I think Brittany's a little bit more recently relevant than Danielle. I think the sentiment you said, I feel strongly about Danielle, actually.
That might be, but Danielle is iconic in the way that there's enough Big Brother players in there to talk about how great Danielle really is. But Brittany didn't. I mean, Brittany, we love her. She's a very beloved Big Brother player, but she's not known as a Big Brother iconic strategic mastermind. So she doesn't have that reputation. But her super fandom of Traitors is really like a deep cut that only a few of us know, and that really only came out after she was already announced in the cast. So that tells me that the cast that she's playing with isn't going to know that about her. They're not going to know that she's seen literally every episode from every Traitors country ever. And I feel so good about it. I think she's going to be a faithful. I think she'll be a faithful.
I'm so jealous.
There's a comment that she made in the promo that made me think, and I think it's interesting to Sarah's point, because one of the only things she said in the promo was, I don't want to be the duck, I want to shoot the duck. And I think that was really interesting on how she perceives the game, because a lot of people think Traitor is the way to go if you want to win. And I think she's looking at it from a different perspective. My question is production going to screw with her where she is like, I don't want to be a traitor, I want to go after the traitors, and then Alan's going around the round table and he's like, boop, you're a traitor, and she's like, well, what the hell, I didn't want this. I'm wondering if
that was the one thing that made me change from Brittany to Danielle, because Brittany was technically my first pick, and Sarah, hats off to you, because it is a good pick.
It's a great pick.
I really struggled with that decision. But the one thing that made me pick Danielle is that if Brittany is a traitor, I don't think she would do it well.
No,
she's not very good at lying.
But I do think this is going to be the season, because we have seen Traitors win twice now. I really think the reason why I kind of leaned a little bit on my picks towards Faithfuls.
Traitors didn't win season 2.
Traitors didn't win last season. Faithful did.
Faithfuls.
Oh, no,
won.
You're right. Duh. I was like, yes, they were. No, you're right. Duh. My brain.
Yeah, CT and Trishelle.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. CT and Trishelle weren't Traitors?
No. Just.
Oh. Jesus. But I do feel like this is going to be the season.
I just did the same thing. You're
right. You're right. They weren't traitors. But I do feel like this is going to be the season in which we lean where the Faithfuls are leading the season, is what I was trying to say. Because we have seen the Traitors lead the season through until the end. But
I feel like the Faithful led the season. I mean, they had a rough start.
I mean, they did.
But then they yeah.
I agree. I think the Faithfuls ran.
The Traitors basically lost last season 6 episodes before the finale.
I mean, they kept having to add new traitors like all season.
You're right. With the pilot Pete situation, you're right.
Yeah. But we do have to move on to Sammy's pick. So now we're moving on to Sammy. This is the final pick of the second round. So who are you going with and why?
So I really want a housewife. Obviously, they do really great on the Traitors. I'm going to go with Dolores Catania.
Really? Okay, explain.
Yes, I am watching Real Housewives of New Jersey right now. She is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I think that is going to be portrayed really well on the Traitors. I think her social game is going to be really excellent. I think people are going to underestimate her in the way that they do most housewives, but specifically Dolores, who can like kind of almost deliberately come off a little like not ignorant, but a little like
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Oblivious.
And I think that
have you
is going to be
watching Housewives?
No, that's why this is. This is
without spoiling it for you. I will just say this with Dorinda. I'm sorry, not Dorinda. With Dolores, leaning so heavily, and I know you've seen this part on her ex-husband. Yeah. The reason that she was not on my list is because I feel like she's going to be a follower faithful.
Really?
No, see, I always saw that storyline in New Jersey to be almost fabricated. So, like, a lot of times, like, for a storyline, because I feel like she took a second to catch her ground in New Jersey.
He helped her
and the only thing, but like the focus on it, I mean, is like, I feel like it was less codependent than it actually seemed, and more a lot about not only her getting screen time to have a storyline, but also for him to have screen time because he was really invested in that. So while I can see like her being a follower, I think she'd be the kind of person that silently follows, but then when you get their confessionals, she's like, hold on, things aren't adding up. Like I do think she's going to be able to see beyond.
Got it.
Great.
Well,
Anybody
Allie,
else
who do you
have
have?
Are we going?
Oh, are we moving on to Allie for the next round?
Yep.
All
Okay,
right.
great.
So next round, my next round pick. I'm struggling between two people. All of my people, you guys have picked all my other names, so I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Wells Adams.
I like that pick. Tell me why.
It's a good
Okay.
one.
Let me write it
I
down.
love that pick, and I'll tell you why, obviously.
Okay, so the reason I'm going with Wells is simply because he's giving Pilot Pete for me, and I do really feel as though he has potential to be one of those faithfuls that doesn't lead people in the wrong direction, but also is not a big target and could potentially be a future recruit.
The only thing I fear about him is that he's going to be so smart because I think you're right. He's going to be smarter than Pilot Pete. People are going to be like, oh, this is an intelligent person. Like, let's listen. And I think the traitors are going to take that and they're going to be like, oh, shit.
Like, you gotta go.
I think how he plays it.
I see the concern. When I think of the traitors, all I have to go off of are 2 seasons, right? That's all we all have to go off of.
Right.
And so I'm looking at Bravo people, I'm looking at Bachelor people and thinking, because like I said before, I'm really looking at faithfuls who I think will go far because I don't want to be stuck with, I think this person might win. I think this person might be a traitor. I want to go with some faithfuls that I think are going to last. So
Great.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? From anybody? Nobody?
Mm-mm.
Silence? Oh,
I don't know anything about
who
him.
he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I needed
He looks
more
like a
time to
narc.
decide.
I don't know.
you want to give some context? I am not huge on Bachelor Nation anymore.
I love Wells Adams. So Wells Adams is the bartender currently for Bachelor in Paradise. Bachelor in Paradise is kind of on its last legs, but he's still.
Wait,
so
he's
actually,
married. I know he's married to. Okay.
Not the Modern Family. What's her name? I cannot think of it.
Island.
Bartender guy.
So he is married to the eldest daughter from Modern Family. I just don't know the actress.
Sarah Hyland.
Yes, Sarah Hyland. Sorry, I just didn't know her.
Our beloved Love Island host pre-Ariana.
But they're both incredible. I love both of them. And Wells, so actually, rumor has it that Wells was being considered to be the host of The Bachelor before Jesse Palmer was brought on when they had the whole Chris Harrison thing. And I actually think it wasn't a bad choice. Like, I really like Wells. Wells is very well spoken. That's a really big thing. Wells is I think there's personally, people can argue with me. I think there's a difference between being articulate and well spoken. I think he's both. I think he's got a charismatic personality. The only problem I see with that is that the traitors may find that threatening at some point. But it depends on where he's sitting with the traitors because we don't know who the traitors are. So he could have somebody that he is on the ins on with the traitors that could run shit because that traitor's not trying to get found out. And if they think that Wells is smart enough to blow up their game, that could really screw them. So I think Wells is a really smart strategic pick. I think there's a chance he could potentially go early, but I think that Wells is.
I don't think that he will go until the middle at best. I really don't think he's going to go early, but.
So we're going to move on to my pick for round 3. And y'all didn't make my choice any easier because the 3 women that I was looking at last round are still here. So now I have to decide which one I think is the best. And I think I'm going to go with Chanel. Chanel from Real Housewives of Dubai. I do think there's a chance that she really does not necessarily last long because I think one of the problems I see is that she will be very outspoken no matter what is going to happen, but that might not necessarily be a problem for the traitors if she is not a traitor and she is wrong about who she's going after.
I do know Chanel.
You do? Tell us about your thoughts. Let's hear it.
I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm expecting great things at the round table from her. I anticipate we are going to eat very well at that round table.
So what do you think about this pick? What do you think she's gonna
I think that
or do you
she
think she's
might
going to be real
be.
low?
I think she might be one of those people that's so big at the round table that it might save her a few times. She might be. There's outspoken that's going to get you targeted by the traitors, and then there's outspoken that the traitors are going to keep you around to be cast
A
suspicion
shield,
on.
yeah.
I think that she has shield behavior, shield traits. Also, can I just say, she is one of those few human beings on this earth that I physically have a hard time looking at because she is so pretty. It makes me uncomfortable.
She's so gorgeous. I just
She is probably one of the most gorgeous human. Like it makes me uncomfortable in the fact that like I don't know how she can be a real human and that's not CGI because she's so pretty.
I love that.
It's like uncanny valley. She's so gorgeous to me. Like I my brain can't process it. And oh my God, I'm excited to see her wardrobe too.
Well, speaking of you, Sarah, you're the next pick. So who is on your list next and why?
I don't think that I was at any risk of getting this person stolen at all. And this is not going to make any kind of sense to you guys, but this is one of my wilder picks. Let me remove the slide. I'm gonna go with Dylan Efron.
I don't I actually really think that's a really smart pick. But why?
I do too, actually.
The reason I laughed is not because I don't think it's good. It's because I low-key was this close to writing his name down. But.
I also just wrote his name down under you, so like apparently you should just take him. I'm just kidding.
I'm picking him for a couple of reasons. One is kind of spoiler-ish or whatever, but he happens to be following somebody that made me think, okay. And then that's all I'm gonna say about it. I'm just gonna tease that. But then there was that. There's two. None of these people are gonna be. He's not gonna stand out to anybody in here. I feel like he's gonna coast and float a lot. But he also has a personality that I feel is going to resonate with a lot of people, but a lot of people are going to want him, like think that they have him under their wing. I feel like he's going to have a lot of relationships throughout the castle that is going to suit him in the game. So yeah, I think he's going to be the surprise, and I feel like he's going to he could win. He could make it to the end, but I feel like he's going to at least go very far.
Is there anybody?
I agree.
Else? I was just going to say to you, Sammy, because I know Allie accidentally left the room. What do you think about that pick? Because
I actually almost put him in my top for that very reason. I think like there's a lot of really big personalities in this house, and I think he's gonna be almost like Pilot Pete, like just like kind of chill, gives his 2 cents. Like I don't foresee him like intimidating anybody, you know. So I do think he could be like one of the end people.
Great. And speaking of you, Sammy, you are actually on for the next pick. So who are you thinking for your round 3 selection? And we will get reality. Allie has left the room momentarily. We will get her thoughts when she comes back. But I would love to know what you are thinking and why.
I'm really excited about this one.
Ruin our
lives. I really think I don't think that I'm stealing this from anyone, and I think that is the big mistake here. I'm gonna go with Chriselle Staus from.
I love that pick. I love that pick so much. Sorry, that was actually she is one of the top women that was in that group that I really wanted. So why? Tell us why. I love the pick personally. Obviously, if I haven't said enough.
The irony here is I've never even seen Selling Sunset, but I do know who she is.
Oh shoot! You guys,
it's also next, like on my watch list.
She was on All My Children. That's where I know her from because I was in that show.
Look, she's a really, really interesting person. Her backstory is really interesting. She comes from like that, like started at the bottom and now we're here kind of journey. She has a lot of emotional intelligence, a lot of like emotional endurance, but also she's competitive. And that was something I wanted my list to be like the most competitive people I could get, with the exception of Dolores. I don't think she's going to be that competitive. But I want like people in the Traitors who are going to like really push for it. And I think she's has the chance to win the whole thing as a faithful or as a traitor.
I think she's going to be a faithful based on
I do
what
too.
we've seen. And I actually think to that point, she really does. It's going to be whether or not she gets wooed by whoever is a traitor. And I think that's going to be the really big thing is
Yeah.
he's going to make connections, I think, with the housewives. I don't think, because she mentioned she did not want to work or see Boston Rob. The only reason I could see her working with the Survivor person is if, like, Jeremy's like, yeah, I can't stand Boston Rob. And she's like, let's go after him, which could work. And I think,
I think she's going to be Danielle Reyes's
in.
minion. I really do.
My prediction is that she is the person that Danielle Reyes is calling out at the round table. I know it might be a little tricky, and I'm saying I recognize they may be playing with us, but the way they played with it, I'm like, ooh, is she calling out Chrishell, or are they trying to play us? Because sometimes they want to make us think something, and then it really happens, versus they're like, psych, and it's like,
I think they're either going to be allies or enemies, and I don't think there's going to be an in-between.
No, I'm fully with you. Any other thoughts, though, from Allie and Sarah?
Sorry, I had to take a phone call. I am jumping in late, and I will just say this. That was my next pick. So I'm a little bit jealous. I don't actually watch Selling Sunset, but I do know Chrishell from people I used to work with would talk about Selling Sunset often. And so I do know that is a solid pick. And I agree with you, Sammy. So, but I'm next. So if you're ready,
let's go on for round 4. Okay. We are in our final 2 rounds. We're going to be doing these a little bit faster because we are short on time. So, Allie, let's go with you.
So, because my next pick was taken, I'm going to go with my next pick, and this may be a horrible mistake. Abigail's probably going to be like, Allie, what the heck are you?
At this point, everything's a crapshoot.
But I'm going to go with Tony. And I know that might be an awful idea. It might be awful. It might be an awful idea.
It's a choice.
The reason I'm going to go with Tony is because I do really feel like somebody from Survivor is going to be a traitor, if not 2 people. And I want to spread my chances.
I don't think Tony's going to be a traitor, though. He was literally
I don't either.
I told the truth, and they thought it was a lie.
No,
and then his other confession was like,
Tony might not be a traitor. But I do think Tony has really good chances of just being such a freaking target that the traitors don't worry about him. And that is the other
no way.
I'm with Sammy in theory, but I don't think that Allie's wrong. Like, I think that if we're going to talk about people who could be targeted, like, but it depends on, like, if Rob or Jeremy are a traitor, Tony is out so fast.
Tony, if I'm not wrong, also won an all-winner season, right?
Yes, he's won 2. So he won Cagayan, which was just a regular Brains versus Bronze versus Beauty season, and then Survivor Winners at War, he pulled out over
Winners at War. Yes. Okay.
He pulled that out.
So my notes on Tony were basically that, I believed he was a 2-time winner. I couldn't remember, but I believed he was a 2-time winner, and I believed that he would really be a huge target, and that I have seen in the past 2 seasons that huge targets tend to stay a little while just because, hey, they're a target. They're not, like the traitors not worried about us. Now, the only other caveat on that is, let's say Jeremy is a traitor, or let's say probably Boston Rob's going to be a traitor. So let's say Boston Rob's a traitor. He's probably going to take out one of the Survivor people really quickly.
At least attempt to.
So the reason I went with 2 Survivor people is because I thought, let me strengthen my chances.
Not wrong.
And because, I don't know about you guys, but I really think Boston Rob's probably going to be a traitor. And so I was like, let me just strengthen my chances because at least one of these Survivor people is going to be taken out. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to either be Jeremy or Tony. So,
all right.
I mean, if anything, we're going to get a Spy Shack reference, right?
Oh, almost certainly. Certainly. Like, there's no way he doesn't do Spy Shack of some form here. Obviously.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
All right.
Okay, who do you got?
And I think I might ask you guys to help me. And I might not take your word, but I want to see a vote.
Okay.
Between Gabby Wendy and Nikki Bella, who would you prefer? Raise your hand if you like Gabby Wendy.
Wait, who's Nikki Bella?
Nikki Bella?
Oh,
Nikki Garcia.
Nikki Garcia?
Oh, Garcia.
old school.
Oh, sir,
yeah.
she her name. I go by her wrestling name because I know her as Nikki Bella. That's my fault.
Even I was like,
Garcia.
wait, what?
So we are between.
No,
so,
I clocked it immediately.
Okay,
so,
Gabby.
so raise your hand if you prefer Gabby over Nikki. Raise your hand if you prefer Nikki over Gabby.
I mean,
I really don't know Gabby, so I don't know that I can vote.
So part of it is because I think there's going to be a divergence between them in the show, and I think like shit. Okay. I'm gonna go with Gabby. I'm gonna go with Gabby. I'll take Gabby. I want to take Nikki, but I will take Gabby. I think Gabby is in a very vulnerable position in this game, and there's a piece of me that's not sure how she will maneuver out of that, but I do think that she has the skills to do so, and when I saw that she was cast for this season, I was thrilled. She is such a great person for this kind of game, in my opinion. That's part of why I was a little torn, because for me, Nikki Garcia, however you want to refer to her, is very similar, but she's outside of the reality television realm that we're familiar with. She is on reality television. She does Total Bellas, but it's a little bit outside of what we're used to in terms of competition. I know Bachelorette isn't necessarily a competition, but it is. And I think that she understands the dynamics a little bit more. Partially why I think that Bachelor people do somewhat.
I also think she's more likely to have some like mutuals in the castle from the events that they go to. So
yes.
she's going to have more pre-established relationships than say Nikki would.
So that's my pick. And if y'all take Nikki, I will not judge. I had to at least, I was so torn. And based on how I did with Gabe last year, I couldn't not let this go and at least get your opinions. So I will take Gabby, and we will move on to Sarah for the next round.
I'm so glad that y'all didn't take this one. I'm going with Sierra Miller.
I like that.
So that was my final one too.
I think she's going to be a faithful, but I want to hear more. I do
think Sierra's going to be. I do think Sierra's going to be a faithful. I feel like Sierra is one of those personalities where to know her is to love her, and I feel like she's going to be very popular in the castle. She's going to be able to establish a lot of relationships. She's very outgoing. She's very social. And honestly, I feel like the fans, like the reason, like I've watched a bit of Summer House, and it does cross into like they did have like a VPR kind of crossover or whatever. Sierra came later. But Sierra's like the most relatable out of watching all these rich people who go and have a vacationing home.
Feel that.
Like Sierra's the most relatable. So I feel like if you are able to be besties and have situations in, every different type of person out there, that she's going to be able to relate to like the housewives she'll get in good with, but then she'll also like the reality stars and then the reality competition, Survivor people and Big Brother people. I feel like she's going to be very adaptable in those relationships, and I'm very encouraged by that. But I definitely think she's going to be a faithful.
Great. And any last thoughts before we move on to Sammy's pick?
Makes my last pick so much harder.
Well, this isn't technically your last pick.
I did have her written down. I have not watched Summer House, but based on what I've seen about her on social media, I did have her on my list. So,
all right, Sammy, where are you going? Dun, dun, dun. Drum roll.
Oh God, this is so hard.
Tell us a little bit about what you're stuck on.
So I really instinctively think that this is like not the year for Survivor people. But the only people that are left are like the only people I know.
Don't do it, Sammy! Don't do
Survivor.
It! Are you about to do what I think you're about?
Don't do it, Sammy. Don't.
Somebody's got to take him. Somebody's got to take him.
So here's my thought. I've never seen The Real Housewives of Potomac. Is that what it is? So
Potomac, yes.
So I'm trying to think if I want Robin Dixon or if I want to really just shake the dice.
I'm gonna give you the Jeopardy theme song to figure it out, okay?
I'm gonna do Boston Rob. Fuck it. Or screw it. I'm sorry.
Hey!
I'm gonna do it.
Tell us why you made that split-second decision, especially.
Okay, it's stupid. It's a stupid decision.
These are all low-ranking players. We want to know what.
But it forms my list. It gives me 2 competitive reality and 2 like Bravo, people. But also the reason I chose him is I wouldn't have thought CT would get as far as he did because he's such a loud alpha, like iconic. People are scared of him in the challenge universe, and he did make it to the end. So by some miracle,
you never know, though.
Maybe, but I'm just gonna take him, and we're gonna roll the dice with it and see what happens.
Love it. Anybody else have thoughts on Sammy's pick before we move on to the final round?
Boston Rob was my very last pick, and the only reason is because I also watched Do or No Deal Island. And he's just way too much. He's a great player. I want to put respect on Boston Rob's name right now.
Hey, no respect there.
I want to put respect on Boston Rob's chaotic name right now. But I think a lot of people on my social media at least are getting tired of seeing him on their screens. And I think it's getting to the point where nobody in this house is not going to know who he is.
I know. It's my riskiest pick for sure.
I can't remember who it was.
Really hard for my last pick.
So but it could be a Shield situation too.
I think
like he's the most obvious.
Said, but he's known outside of it. And the reason I wasn't going to pick him personally was because Chriselle, I believe, was the person. If it wasn't her, it was somebody who was a non-reality female star. Was like, I don't want to see Boston Rob. I don't really watch a ton of competition reality, but he's the last person I would ever want to see. And then they did the thing where he was like, I'm a boss. What do you think? And it was like, oh, wow, that's wild juxtaposition.
And another reason, I wasn't going to mention this because I don't want to like make people feel suspicious, but much like Dan, he's getting a lot of airtime right now.
Yeah. All right, we are on our last round. We have about 5 minutes to wrap this up, so we're going to make this a more rapid fire round.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
1 to 2 thoughts for each person. Just because we got to wrap this up, but we are on Allie. Allie, obviously, you can share as many thoughts as you want in a brief short of time. But who are you?
I don't even know who to pick. Oh my gosh, because like literally all of my.
It's tough.
Okay. So my picks are Lord, Nikki, Robin, Sam, Tom, and Wells, right?
No, Wells is taken. You have Wells.
I picked Wells.
You have the other 5.
Okay, Lord, Nikki, Robin, Sam, Tom. Okay, shoot. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Okay, I will say this: I am torn between Robin. I don't watch Potomac, but I am torn between Robin just based on what I've seen on social media, and Lord. And the reason I'm torn is because I don't know that anybody's really going to care about Lord. And he might just roll his way until like...
Unless they know about the royal family. But I don't mean that in a negative way. Unless like people are just like royal family, like anti-royal family.
And just for the bit, I'm tempted to pick Sam. But on principle, I'm like, I don't know if I can do
it. I'm gonna start a counter.
Yeah, I was gonna say
go with your gut.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Robin Dixon.
All right, explain why.
And I'm gonna go with Robin Dixon because I wanted to have a housewife, and you all took all my housewives. So I'm gonna go with Robin because I need to have at least one Bravo star.
Okay.
Great. Any other thoughts on Robin before we head out, especially Sammy?
No, I don't think Robin's a bad pick.
Oh, so. You got some.
That's a great pick.
Fine, shut me up. Any other thoughts though? Okay. Well, then since nobody took Nikki Bella, I'll take Nikki Bella. And that for similar,
you have to say the.
Well, I'm just gonna say similar to what Sammy did for Survivor. I've got an all-female draft class here, and I'm actually not necessarily mad. Nikki Bella, we know the personal drama she is in. Allie and I watch Dancing with the Stars. We are very familiar with what is going on. Those conversations will only be brought up when they need to be brought up, if they need to be brought up. And that's a when and an if, like capital if. Nikki Bella is not going through the greatest divorce, but this was all filmed before. I think this has nothing to do with it, and I just wanted to at least get that out in the open. That said, if we're taking everything out of it, I think Nikki Bella could be a dark horse in this because I think underestimate how well she could actually play this game. I don't necessarily think she will win, but I think for somebody who is outside of the competition reality realm, who understands how this works. I think she's got a better, not the best, not I don't know, but I think she's got a decent chance at really figuring out this game, understanding it, and pulling through. But I would love to hear if anybody else has any other thoughts.
No, you said everything.
Zero opinions. I don't have no idea who she is.
I think
have you not watched WWE?
Not since I was a kid.
And the
I watch now.
I think it's a great choice. I think she's going to be a total savage, but I think not winning.
All right. We got 2 more picks left. And just to be clear for people, we have 3 people left on the list, but only 2 picks left. So the person who is not picked will go to the person who loses somebody first. With that, we have Sarah for her last pick. And then Sammy actually gets an open pick without being handed somebody. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. Let's go with Sarah. Who of these last 3 we have? Oh, that wasn't
of course.
hesitation. So she is Lord Mountbatten. Why?
Lord Ivar Mountbatten. Yeah, if you are familiar with the British family, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm sorry. I have if I have to pick over, you know, like 2 straight white men, I'm gonna pick the gay one. You know, that is the third. Like,
love it.
It's between a gay and 2 straights, and so I'm gonna go with the gay every time. And
love it.
That's it. You know, no, he's personable. He's got charisma. He's got and he's, you know, brilliant, very highly intelligent. So that was out of the 3, it was a very easy grab for me.
So the last one, I hate to rush us forward, but we're just running short on time. Sammy, you have the difficult task of choosing between Tom Sandoval from Vanderpump Rules and Sarah Bari, Britney Spears' ex. Please tell us who you would like to select. I apologize that the position you are in, but please tell us who you are selecting and please explain why.
I'm sorry.
I feel so horrible, but I saw this coming from a mile away.
We know, look, we don't know for sure who's going to win the Traitors, but we do know for sure who is not going to win the Traitors. There is nothing in this world that would make me choose Tom Sandoval. So I'm going with Sam Asghari by true defaults. True defaults.
You're choosing Sam Asghari!
So here's an interesting tidbit too. I don't remember which one it is.
For him.
But I do know that there are, from when we said first cast announcement, there's a Big Brother player and then 2 Real Housewives players that are we're doing free Britney, save Britney content.
I understand.
Can I ask a question before we break? Because I know we're on time crunch.
Tom Sandoval's going to go first.
I want everybody to say who they think the first boot will be. And the reason I'm asking is because whoever, as Abigail said, whoever has the first boot leave their draft will gain Tom Sandoval. So.
I do think Tom Sandoval's going first because if you've ever watched any episode of VPR, I'm sorry, there is no way that anyone voluntarily hangs out with that man.
Nope.
The only reason he has friends on that show is because they are on a cast together.
He also has no charisma for this show at all.
Whatsoever.
Okay, wait,
now, if you make him a traitor, I think he would have more of a shot.
Abby, what are your thoughts? Do you think Tom is going to go first?
Yeah, no, I don't. And
I don't think so either.
Because solely of the edit. If you guys watch the edit,
if we went by edits, last Survivor draft would have worked out a lot better for y'all.
Because this edit, he goes, people are finally listening to me. So that tells me he lasts at least one elimination. I don't care if it means he's out.
Not if people are faking it. People pretend to listen to people all the time. You think Tom Sandoval's going to know when someone's lying to him or not?
No, but I think somebody is dating Tom. Now, Who do we think is going to be getting Tom? I'm really curious to know who we think might be getting Tom because
if he's first out,
the Traitors are going to go after him at the end of the game because
No, she means one of us. Who is going to have the first boot?
So who do we think might be getting Tom? So look at
I think Tom's
Sammy.
just going to go.
Who do you think's going first? If it's not Tom, who?
If it's not Tom, then it's Sam.
No, it's not because those people are going to be safe. It's going to be a big name. And
I think it's going to be Tony Blachos.
Or Boston Rob.
Tony, because of Tony being like, oh, they called me out for a lie. Oh, they called me out again. I don't think that's going to be it. I just have to look at this real quick.
I can see Boston Rob being first boot.
I agree. Think Boston Rob might go.
I think he'll try to get immunity.
No offense.
I think he'll try to get immunity.
He will, but there's no chance that he guarantees himself the shield. And if he they can go after, but I guess that's a good point because if he runs for the shield and they don't know, who knows? But we have to. I'm just gonna guess.
Why don't we wait? Let's do a guess. Let's do a guess.
I'm gonna guess Sammy just off of it. I apologize. It's gonna be because it's gonna be Rob, in my opinion. Yeah. If I pick you, if it's not, shh.
Okay, and next, I will piggyback off of Abigail. I also think that Boston Rob is going to go first, and the reason I think it is for the same reasons that Johnny Bananas went first. So, Sammy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I think if Boston Rob is a traitor, it could be okay, though. I actually think Tony is going to be the first one out.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think there's going to be a situation where they can't get Boston Rob out for whatever reason, and then they automatically go for Tony. I do think it's going to be a Survivor player that is first out.
And last but not least, Sarah, what do you think?
I think Boston Rob goes first.
Wait. Can I clarify? I'm talking about at the voting table. I guess we could also think. We don't know if they're going to vote first or if somebody's going to kill.
I believe it's banishment. Banishment first and murder second. So banished first will be, and that's what I'm basing.
And I think Boston Rob would be like a number one suspect as a traitor.
Oh, absolutely.
People are just so people know, the one person who was not picked was Tom Sandoval. So which one of us four loses somebody first, which is going to be what we believe will be the first banishment. It has to be the very first elimination of the season. Whoever loses somebody.
We all believe Sammy is going to be losing.
No. But anyway.
Tom.
Whoever loses the very first vote, if it turns out to be something, because it could also be a twist as far as we know, but it just depends. Whoever the first person is, it does not matter if there are multiple people in the episode that get banished or murdered or what have you. Whoever is the first person out, whoever has that person automatically gains Tom Sandoval.
Yeah.
I apologize to whoever.
And we get points. You get points on your player's name every time their name is written down on the chalkboard at the table. This will help us as a tiebreaker at the end. Say if we have multiple faithfuls end up winning or multiple traitors end up winning, whoever has the least amount of points, whatever player has the least amount of points, least amount of times their name has been mentioned at the round table, that person who has them wins the draft.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to that man, Tom Sandoval.
I'm not. I am zero. I'm sorry. I will say
it's kind of obvious he does not win because when he gets back from filming the Traitors, he went on a wild bender where he humiliated himself again.
No, I'm just kidding.
But I'm just saying that I just have a feeling in my gut that he is embarrassed on the Traitors.
I actually have
because he came back and his bar shut down. He can't function. His relationship is a mess.
Okay, we're gonna film a second. We're gonna have to film. Wait. What happens if there's any? Okay. Side note: we should probably add what happens if there's a Hail Mary player, much like we had Kate last season.
So I think that's a good point. So there are rumors that there are people joining the season that have not been announced. We have not drafted those players. We will not draft those players. Those players, if they happen to win, first of all, we have thoughts about if they win the game. I would assume there is no prize or a punishment. Now, Sarah and I have operated. So when we did Big Brother 25, we operated since Sari was a sole person to enter the game. that we were just like, oh, we're just not gonna, like, we have a fair draft, we're not gonna do it. I think it's almost not fair if you have, from what we have heard, multiple people potentially entering the game late. And I would think that it's more fair for us not to do a joint punishment.
Agreed.
Just say we lost, but I don't know.
No, yeah, just lost. But I think that we can still have a winner by the last person that we have drafted, whoever made it to party.
I like that.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Great. If any fans have any thoughts about how we move forward with this, we would love to hear your opinions, especially now as we enter the 2-week season before we're entering this, because we're really going to solidify stuff for the first episode. So if you have any thoughts, please let us know. But in the meantime, that wraps up this episode of Wicked Unscripted. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe, rate, review our podcast, do all the fun things on this video. Just do all the interaction. If you want to ask us a question, share your thoughts, leave us a tip, email the podcast at wickedunscriptedpod, P-O-D at the end of that, at gmail.com. That's wickedunscriptedpod@gmail.com for more. We're always looking for fresh and diverse voices to join the conversation, especially as I would like to open up a mailbag option for this season just for general questions. So if anybody is interested in that, I will be posting that on my social medias. You guys, all three of you, please feel free to do so as well. I didn't mention that before. I meant to, and that is my apologies for not. But again, we are always looking for fresh and diverse voices to join the conversation, and it's always so helpful. So unless you guys have any thoughts.
Can I plug something before we leave?
Please do.
As we all know, all of our main social media seems to be TikTok right now. So please follow all of us on all of our platforms.
Linktrees.
Yes.
Bios.
I have Linktree now, finally. So go to my TikTok, go to my Linktree. Everyone else plug your socials because it is important that we follow each other. Everywhere else, just in case this becomes like Vine at some point, January, February, whenever it happens that we phase out, we want to be able to keep a hold of everyone.
And no matter what, we will make sure we follow with you guys. So if there is a TikTok ban, I don't even know if we do a special episode. There is a chance we would, but we would like to make sure that you guys at least know where you can find us. So we will keep you guys updated on that. But we know we have some people who have to run. So we love you all. We love you so much. This has been a fantastic episode and happy Traitors 3. This is going to be so much fun. Let's go. And we will do streaming times in the future. Let us know. Have a good night. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.